if nothing else, for an incredibly long period of time. And 12 months is a good long period of time to lock somebody in. Has anybody felt this where you get a Costco membership and then you feel the need to go there because you paid for the membership? That's kind of their business model. It's like it's still a need in the product, mainly because they make you pay in advance. So there's a great business model to follow. Beer. Everybody has their brand of beer, right? If you drink beer, you pretty much drink one kind or two kinds, or you don't steer too much. Newcastle's mine, in case anybody was wondering. I like Newcastle. But, okay, the reason is, it's because it's most readily available and still in the category of tasty for me. Like, if I had a choice, I would get a microbrew, or I'd get something that has a little bit more of an artisan flavor, but I know that you can get Newcastle pretty much any bar. You can get it at pretty much any liquor store, so that's my fallback, right? If I can't find anything I like on the microbrew side, I always go for Newcastle. Why? It provides something that I like. Great beer at a lower price. It's not all that expensive for brown beer. I kind of like it. It's not too hoppy. I'm not into the IPAs. So just an example there about myself. Okay? Now, let's look at the gel test specifically. Now that we've been able to define the G, the E, and the L, now we need to come up with 5 different versions of your business plan. So, maybe not 5, but at least 3. And that would include, like, having a mac nut farm and producing raw nut and selling it at wholesale market. Pressing to oil and chocolate-covered mac nuts or something. So you have the same product. You're growing mac nuts, right? But at no point should you really be doing this unless it makes financial sense to just sell the raw product. Take your mac nuts, dehusk them, wrap them in chocolate, and charge $10 a bag. People will buy them, okay? So you could sell 5 mac nuts for $5. People do it all the time. They just put a little chocolate around the outside. So this might be a more valuable idea, and you can only know that by really kind of giving a score. Now, it's kind of like there's no real set standard to this, but you can basically say that you will have good customers if you do wholesale product. Randy just left. I would like to ask him that. But if you have people that consistently buy from you year after year after year, decade after decade, then those are probably really great customers, and you could save a ton of money by not producing an added value product. So that might be a good score. Or it might be a bad score because you know that people will just ditch out on you even though they know you have a crop on the way. Okay, I'd bring it down to a lower percentage, maybe 20% good customer chance that we do it that way. But with the chocolate, guaranteed tourists buy chocolate-covered macadamia nuts. Now the goal is to get them to the tourists. Okay, so at least as far as producing a profit, it might be your best option. So for each one, G, E, L, you're going to basically put a score, and then you evaluate which one gets the higher score, and that'll give you an idea as far as feasibility goes. Even if you don't use this, use the G, E, and the L to figure out who your customers are, and then write your business plan based upon that. Good customers, easy to sell, and over a long period of time. Okay? Scenario planning. Oh, we're doing a good time. Now, you can either take your best idea from the gel test, which is highly recommended, or the best idea from the SWOT test. And that's going to be your business idea for at least the remainder of the class. Remember, this is just a practice. Everybody find the right page? Sorry about that. Okay. So you've selected your business plan based upon some feasibility tests. Don't select a business idea unless you've run them through at least one of those two, if not both of those tests. And now, for the rest of the business plan, I want to see you plan for contingencies. I want you to plan for the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and the most likely case scenario for pretty much every section of your business plan. So, best case scenario, well, you got to ask yourself, what are the goals of my business? Is the goal of my business to make $100,000 a year? Okay, best case scenario, make $100,000 in 6 months. Plan for that, because it might happen. And then that way, there's no questions about what to do next. Some people are like, crap, we have to hire 6 people and find a new truck tonight. Well, if you didn't plan for that, then it's going to be a headache. But if you already planned for that, it's not a big deal. Especially if you already have it priced out where you're going to get your truck from and all that good stuff, okay? Worst case scenario, definitely, if you don't plan for best, plan for worst and most likely, okay? Always put a plan on there if you fail, or if you don't do well, your crop doesn't do well, or people aren't buying your product, because you can always change your business plan. If you're in this section and the worst of the worst is happening to you, at least with your business plan written down, you can go through it and figure out where you're failing and then readjust, okay? Most likely case scenario is pretty much going to be the meat and potatoes of your business plan. It's what you're going to want to focus on for the most part. But please, for every section, don't forget about these other 2. Worst case scenario could be everything from the CEO dies, or the trees die, or we have a hurricane and knocks everything out. Certainly that's worst case scenario. You lose all your crop. That's worst case scenario. Well, how could that happen? Well, natural disaster or negligence or something. Well, CREP program or some sort of insurance program is available through FSA and NRCS. And at least if you incorporate into your business plan, you're paying a little bit for the insurance cost, that if a hurricane does come and wipe out your entire property, you get 20% of the value of your farm back. And then you can restart. Sure, it's not enough to get you off your feet, but it's enough to get you restarted, right? So, for pennies on the dollar every month, you can get insurance to cover yourself for your worst case scenario. Okay? I'll go over this at the end of class. This is the modules that we're going to be teaching after this class. Remember I talked about the 12 different classes. They're kind of a la carte style. November 5th, accessing resources. So you'll be talking with Lester Ueda and Linda Cow from Farm Services Agency and Layla Jalsi from NRCS. So if you have any questions about that, just know that we are working to get you that information. So certainly incorporate insurance and all that good stuff in there. Okay, probably the most important slide of this section. I talked a little bit about this, right? Finding yourself in the right, I guess, wave of the market. Product launching. Emerging market. These are ideas that are coming out. They don't have to be new ideas. They just have to be new for this time and age. Okay? There's a lot of products out there that used to be made that aren't made anymore that certainly could be relaunched. I don't want to get too much on that, but there's plenty of products that you can kind of revamp in Hawaii because they just don't exist and people aren't selling them here. Launching is you, 1 or 2 other friends, and your family knowing about your product. That's launching. What do you do when you're launching? Market analysis. This is when you are going to have a tangible product, whether it be a prototype, which is highly recommended, or many different kinds of prototypes of your product, whether it be jarred jams, have a different recipe. Whether it be, whatever, coconut oil, have different kinds of coconut oil, virgin, and you have stuff that could be made into soap, stuff that can be made into candles. Figure out which way you can make your money in that market, and you do your market analysis here. Okay? This is when you find out the tangible numbers of production, sales, and make them pretty specific to your location. The best way to find market analysis with your launch product is to take your product out to people and ask them about it. Do a survey based upon your product. Highly recommended for market analysis. I almost don't want to see a market analysis section turned into me that doesn't talk about surveying your local community or potential customers about your product, because numbers don't mean anything if they're not correct. And you only know if the numbers are correct if you actually talk to the people that might be your potential customers. Okay? Emerging. This is when you get patents or you start looking for investors to get ready for later on in the market. This is, you might find this amazing product in like one store. They have an exclusive contract or something. Think technology, think fashion products and things like that. Certainly on the emerging side. Then there's an interest, right? There's eventually people tell people, and then you start making your product more available to the public, and probably for a much lower price. So when you start establishing your market, this is when your prices are starting to change. They're starting to reflect the expansion of the business. Because you're expanding and you're able to get out to more locations, your products should definitely be cheaper. If they're getting more expensive, don't expand yet. If you can build a much better relationship with the people you get your raw materials from, or whoever does manufacturing or anything like that, you want to do it during the establishing phase. Eventually, everybody knows about your product. This is right about the time that my mom bought an iPhone. When my mom is buying an iPhone, that means there's at least 20 million people that have it before her. Okay? So, now on the other hand, my dad would be down here. He's the guy who has the buddy at Motorola who tells him about all the new products that are coming out from the trade shows, and that to be ready to have money saved up to buy the new product. That's my dad down here. So, can you land somebody in the right section? And then, of course, there's obsolete and a flooded market. And then at that point, there's really no point in getting involved in the market. The only place to get in on the market is right here. Do not get in on the market here. You'll become an iPhone salesman or whatever. You'll be making somebody else rich. Okay? So, see it down here and come up with a new added value agriculture product or service. Don't always think about product. Think about a service, because you don't need a lot of capital for a service. It's really just manpower and the ability to pay people by the hour or whatever the task is. And then also finding skilled individuals. But get in this area. Edible landscaping. It's probably right about here. Chocolate-covered acai berries, which are produced in Hawaii. That's down here. Only a couple people are doing it. Figs, remember I keep bringing up figs? You're down in here. Okay, emerging market. You come up with 1,000 examples and just come up with an idea of a product and then kind of like visualize where is it in that wave, and make sure that you land yourself right at the beginning. Okay. Any questions on that? If you think that you're getting in on here, but there's a question about it, ask me, and I'll tell you my honest opinion of where you lie. And the problem is it's just such a strange market here in Hawaii, now with the internet. So people are able to get products and services like they've never been able to get before. So can you compete with them? And can you get in on here? Okay? But then there's the people that only want to make $5,000 a year. What do they have to do to get in here? Versus somebody who wants to make $500,000 a year. It's probably much harder to get in down here. Okay? So figure out what you need from your business and then find out where you lay in the wave. We're going to go over sales plan or marketing and sales plan next, but first we have to do the executive summary. So why don't we go ahead and take a good 10, 15-minute break, and then we'll pick it up from there. All right, guys? Bathrooms are that way, right? There's a men's room right here. I think the ladies' room is usually open right here. And I know there's another ladies' room that way. I'm really not too sure what ladies' rooms are. Yeah.